Thank you, Tabsoba. Thank you so much. Right now, everything is up and running. So let's get started with the development of authorization and login. But before we get started, okay, I would like to remind what we did like last time. It was yesterday. We were trying to make the session, create some session, and also send SMS to users. It was basically a feature that is combining Total.js application with a Total.js flow. I'm going to show you the Total.js flow because if you pay attention to what we have here, we have this application running on port 8000, which is the flow instance, the application instance, and we have our application here running on port 5000. These different applications are talking together in order to send or verify the OTP code. And when everything is okay, if the code is generated, for example, it's going to send it via SMS to user or simply log in here. That's how things were working. I can see that people right now like TypeScript instead of JavaScript, poor JavaScript. Yes, it's very interesting that TypeScript is taking all over the internet. People are talking less about JavaScript. TypeScript is taking all the market share. I know why, because people want to write code with a type system with some good practices and make sure that they are writing code that is going to be maintainable, especially when you are working on a company. When you're working with a team, it's important that you have a code that is easy to understand, easy to maintain. But and some people like Total.js, some teams like Total.js still use poor JavaScript. We don't use TypeScript. We write code just like that, and yes, it works. What you have to know is that by the end of the day, TypeScript will be transpiled by a transpiler, so that everything will be at the end of the day a JavaScript, simple JavaScript. So it's very interesting to keep that in mind. the stream quality can be improved, but maybe next time, because I do that taking into consideration the bandwidth of my, because as if it is the evening I'm able to increase it, but right now it's not possible for me to increase it. But yes, I'm going to take that into consideration the next live. Thank you so much, Wilfried. So right now we have this Total.js flow. It's a low-code development tool. What we did yesterday was to make this endpoint that we can call and generate a OTP. It was straightforward. It's very easy to implement. You drag and drop the component and everything is up and running. And besides this, we are going to use this instance of flow in the future because we have some automation, some calculations that we can dedicate to this one, like recommendation or making some processes to format some data, or also communicating. We can use this instance of flow as a broker to make a pub sub system for all the microservices that will be connected to this application. So for a project that is expected to grow in the future, it's important to integrate Total.js flow. I know why we do that, because yes, Total.js is meant to be a microservice architecture, and also this system of making small microservices is better when you want to put something in production and keep improving it as you modify the consent part and the other part is still running. So this was the system at the flow side, and at the perspective of this application, we had this. Okay, this was the function to create a user. Creating a user requires only the phone number. The phone number is the unique identifier in the database. So we can simply check on the database if the user exists. If user not existing, we create the user. Okay, we create a ID in order to, this ID we create here from the label is simply to call the flow. Okay, we call the flow in order to generate the OTP key, OTP code for sending with the SMS. We send SMS and everything is okay. After that, we have another action which is going to be called for verifying the OTP code. If OTP code is okay, then we are going to create a session and encrypt the session ID into the request, make a token, okay, that we send to the mobile application. If the mobile application from Flutter is going to make other requests in the future, it's going to carry this token. If not, it's not possible. So which sets the basics and the foundation for us to implement the whole authorization system. Like some routes may be there for listing some contacts, and those contacts must be authorized. If you don't create account, you're not allowed, for example, to list the contacts. Meanwhile, you may not want to authorize routes that list some products, or okay, like a dashboard. If you have e-commerce applications like Alibaba or something, you're not obliged, for example, to have an account in order to browse and see some products. You can do everything without creating an account. In this situation, for example, you don't need the route and the request to be authorized. And this is what we are going to deal with in this video. Like, we create a middleware, okay, which is going to authorize and check the request if the token is existing or not. And yes, this video is going to explain you the basics of authorization systems in Total.js, and it is almost the same in all the programming languages. So we are going to see. Okay, let's test this flow, okay, and continue with that. The routes we have here, we have, for example, this in plugins, we have this account, okay, and index.js, we have these routes. This is the endpoints that the external application, the external world of our application is going to call in order to register or do anything within the application. And Total.js has its way to handle that with the API routing standard. It's simply a standard, but when you see API routing like that, it means that you are sending post request. And this is what I'm going to show you right now. We put API here as the method. Usually we put, for example, get, post, or put, or patch, or delete. But this system is a unique way in Total.js to handle things with the only same method, which is the post request. This is what I'm going to test here for you. We are going to make sure that our application is still running, up and running like before starting the development of the authorization system. Normally I should be using Postman, but I have this extension which is going to do the same work. Basically, we need to put to set the method to post, okay, because all the entire API of the application is responding and doing things via the post method, and you are going to see what I'm talking about. It's not HTTPS, it's localhost and 5000 and /API. Okay, so here we have post, okay, /API, and the next part of this route is account is going to return, but we need to use this one for example for creating an account with only a phone number. So I'm going to take this and we should see everything here. This is going to be schema, and here I put the account like that. If you are joining for the first time, at least testing it like this will allow you to catch up and follow. Okay, so basically what we need here is to use this only endpoint for the entire application, but what differentiates the routes is the schema name. Like here the schema name is create, and here we have the data which is carrying the payload. Okay, like if you are using a form on the Flutter application side, you simply need to put the payload inside the parent payload, and it's going to work. And here what we need is to put phone. I used to do things inline like that, but okay, some people will expect to have it like this. I don't see any problem to do that also. I like minified code. Yes, when it's minified, it's like machine code, but at least you can understand and read things easily. So the phone number I'm going to put is 2267, okay, 560671. Oh, it's not normal that I forgot my own phone number. No, yes, 650671. Okay, and this is how we can create an account. Let me try to create the account. Oh, okay, the URL is not correct. Okay, there is something missing, the double slash, and I send. Yet it says that user is already existing on the database with this phone number. Basically, I'm not going to change the phone number. I'm just need to open up this okay, this database and delete the existing one, so that we are going to test it from scratch. No, I don't want to connect to this database. Okay, let me try this one and open up this database. Yes, once I have this using user and I delete this one and save. Yes, now if I try to send, I have a success, okay, success message here. It means the account is created. Okay, as you can see, everything is okay. The SMS is disabled right now, so it says invalid token because I changed the token. I don't have time to create a new token for us, because every time I make a video and my tokens are revealed, I try to revoke the token in the API side. If not, the SMS would be sent. Okay, anyway, basically also we can have this, but at least I should see the OTP code. Let me see if it is possible to check it on Flow. Unfortunately, I don't have it in Flow, so I'm going to delete it again. Delete the created phone number, and that's what is required for me. And basically I need to find that OTP to reveal the OTP. It's very important. Okay, like this one, I will put it here. Whatever the case, I need to see the OTP in the console.log. Yes. Okay, let us get back to this client. We create an account again, success message. We should see on the console.log the OTP created. Once we have this OTP, we need to call another route for verifying the OTP, and that route is this one. Okay, account OTP verify, and we put the value. That's how we can simply verify it. So let's do that. So basically here we are changing this. Okay, let me copy, and it must be slash and the value is going to be this OTP number, OTP code, right? And we don't need this payload, it's not required. We don't need a payload inside. Oh, at least I need to check here. Yes, we need this payload. We need a payload which is going to be the phone number, so we keep the phone number and the OTP. We send. Yes, great, it works. Once we create, we make this verification of the OTP. If it is okay, a session is created and it sends you this hash. Okay, this is an encrypted version of the I don't know if, yes, the hash is containing the session number, the session ID, and that session ID will be checked every time we have another request. Like here we can make this token. I'm going to make it custom like that. Authorization, no, I need some need to put simply some errors. Okay, I will call it token and put the token here. Like if we have a mobile number, we need to keep this token stored in the mobile phone, whether it is SQLite storage or local storage, whatever. We need to keep that for the future request. And with that said, we need now to create the authorization system. To explain, I need to explain the concept of authorization within the Total.js. It's a very straightforward way to do that, very simple way to do that. And let me see if you have some questions, okay, before we proceed with this session stuff. This is a good question. Why using post method for everything? Yeah, it's a better way. It's a better way for handling bigger application. For this small application, we don't see. But when your application is growing, you will need to have lots of routes. Okay, which is trying to make your web server a little bit heavy. the framework in the background is trying to map and resolve the routes, okay, using different types like the get, the post, and sometimes it can be confusing, while it's easier because you are calling lots of functions in order to resolve the routes. But when you use the post only, okay, the API routing system of Total.js, it becomes really easier because you just need a simple function, a tiny function like that, in order to resolve things based on the schema name which is inside the payload. So basically, it's performance purpose that we use the post method for everything. Yes, for a small application like that, it doesn't matter. But when you have a very big application, it becomes relevant for you to have a better way to handle it. I have, for example, an application which has up to 5,000 routes, okay? Not 5,000, okay, 500 routes. And imagine if those routes were used with delete, post, get, patch. It becomes difficult for the server side to handle everything. Yet it depends also on the background process of the approach of the Total.js framework. Need a refresh token to refresh the expired token based on a TTL. Yes, let me show you the current implementation of the session. The session is very simple because it is intended for the mobile application. I said to myself that we don't need expiration date or something like that. It's not like a cookie. We try to make a token, okay, that is going to be lifetime token. Yes, for now this is what we put here. We don't check the validation, the validity based on the data, on the date of the generation, unless we want to limit the number of tokens we want to create for any given mobile, because some people will have many trials, and at the end of the day you have a lot of tokens for one user, and this is not good. Lots of sessions created in the database for the one user. In this case, you can simply make some checks to see if a token is not used for a while, for a long time. You can, based on that, delete everything, but it's not to make the token authorize it. In the mobile side, we can make some kind of pin code and lots of other securities to keep things so that the session can be lifetime. Someone asking what is Total.js. Okay, let me show you the website of Total.js, totaljs.com. Total.js is, at first it was a library, but now it has become a platform. It's like a development environment. As you can see here, it's just like the paradise of developers. You have a lots of tools, lots of libraries put together in one single ecosystem, where you can use everything for building scalable and modern application. It's very good for real-time applications. Real-time, this is really when you see Total.js flow like that, okay, and the kind of stress that this application is going under, you understand that Total.js is really made for performance. Yet it's the best you can do with Node.js. You can do that with Total.js because it's at minimal memory consumption, and it gives a lot of promises in terms of performance. And around the ecosystem, we have also some applications ready to be used, like code editor, which is written entirely with the Total.js framework, like web components. This is the client side things. Less code is something like Total.js flow, but for creating some APIs. Pluginable, okay, this is how we are actually doing. And also we have this super admin and lots of other applications that you can use. Open Files, for example, is a microservice that you can use for uploading and downloading some files, logging, reporting, synchronization between microservices, templates for sending emails or whatever, authorization system, OpenAuth. You have a bunch of things that is put together in a kind of a platform for helping developers feel free, independent, and easy. So we have also IoT platform. Okay, this kind of thing that okay, people can use to integrate IoT devices. There are lots of applications with it here. It's a community-driven application framework. It's open source and free. Yes, this is Total.js. It's a library, but under the hook we have JavaScript and Node.js. JavaScript because it is the client side of Total.js is using the pure JavaScript. We don't use TypeScript or any other stuff. We use pure JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript if you want, or CommonJS. Okay, CommonJS. This is what we use. Okay, we can continue with some concept of the Total.js authorization. For that, I'm going to the documentation so that most of you who want to dive deep in this authorization system with Total.js, you can simply learn about the more advanced things with the documentation. If I go to Total 5, you will see here authorization. Authorization system is straightforward and simple to grasp. So basically your client side, okay, is sending some request. Okay, when a request arrives on the application, before it's going to hit the routes, because applications usually have some routing, there will be a middleware somewhere which is called the auth delegate, this is what we have here. I'm going to take some examples so that you can learn more about this tool. But basically the middleware is there to check if the request is authorized or not. This is the standard in web development. It's a concept that is common with all the frameworks and all the tools we have in web development. Basically, this also can be a microservice, but at least you have a middleware, something in the middle that is checking the request. If the request is gonna be authorized, we call .success. Okay, if it is not going to be authorized, we call .invalid. Simply, this is the two cases, and according to that, the routing is going to be handled. But the routing system works with the Total.js authorization system in a way that you will find it sometimes very interesting, because the first time I discovered this authorization system, I said that whoever invented or designed this way of authorizing the application is a genius, because you have a best way to handle the request, to put a middleware and enable it wherever you want with simply some symbols that enabling and disabling that's really amazing for me. I'm going to make an example so that you can see. So basically it works with the routing system using this kind of stuff, but since we are in a live stream, I'm going to thank you so much. Don't forget to like this live streaming. If you want to ask a question, you can just make it. Okay, just write down what you think about it. That's what we can. So people here, we are using TypeScript demo. Great. TypeScript, nice. Okay, so but under the hook we have also Node.js, the CommonJS, which is good. Okay, let's continue. I'm going to make a simple example, and for that I'm going to create this create a file, make controllers. This folder is going to hold to the controller file. I'm going to isolate, put in a separate file an example so that you can understand how the authorization system works with a very simple code. So I'm going to make it like auth, like default.js, and inside this we need to make some exports.install, which is going to be function, and we are going to make two routes. In this route I'm not going to put the API standard. I will use the standard way of doing things, which is going to be slash get slash or anything. I'm going to put a function like a handler. We'll call it home. I will make another one. I will call it login. So I need to create those functions here. This is the controller, okay? The controller instance is this dollar symbol. Like this way I can make controller.text to send a text or plain whatever. It's going to be welcome to home, feel at home. And the second function is going to be function, and as you can see I'm not using arrow functions of JavaScript. We are using vanilla function, like just like a newbie type writing some codes. I don't know about arrow functions, but yes, that's a way of living. Login, which is going to be this, and of course you can use the controller to reply with some JSON files, JSON format, but I'm using text because I just want to display a message. Login form. So basically we have these routes and we want to authorize them. Most of the time in web development, when the user is not authorized it, we need to send him back to the authorization, to the login page, and whenever this user is authorized it's going to be on this home page. Basically that's how it works. But here we have this get. It's confusing. Okay, the same route is not going to be for them all. So let's even try it. We know that it's not correct, but let's try to see which one is overwriting which one. And so we are going to use a localhost 5000. It's not 8000, this one, and it's going to be simple like that. And as you can see we have home, welcome home. Okay, but how can we reach this login home? It's not possible. The best way to do that is to make an authorization system, so that we can say that if this request contains is authorized, like if it contains a certain error or it contains the right cookies, okay, we are going to display the home page, and otherwise we are going to display the login page. To do that, it's very simple to do that. We need the auth middleware. I'm going to declare it here. Total.js use declarative way to handle things, and sometimes you will see lots of global variables everywhere. Okay, but don't worry, people will criticize and say that, oh, this is pollution of the global framework. It's pollution. It's pollution when it comes to using lots of libraries, because if you combine lots of libraries, those lots of libraries can override each other. But Total.js is meant to be independent. Okay, so sometimes you guys have to say that yes, we know what we are doing, so there's not a problem. And this is something like that we have also on the browser. The browser, in the browser, okay, let me show it to you. We inspect so that we can have a console. In the console, when you make something like var name like this, is going to be Total.js. Okay, and we make console.log of name. It works. We have Total.js. Okay, let me refresh that. Okay, we refresh the page to make sure that Oh, what's going on? It's taking lots of time. This time the framework does not know. Okay, the authorization system is here and it is messing. So let me put that $.success so that the request will proceed. Okay, great. To make sure, if we make console.log of name, yeah, this is not fair. This is not fair because I'll refresh the page. I expected it to not work. But anyway, what I wanted to say is that you can use a name like this, var name, or you can use simply window.name, because yes, as you can see, window.name is also referencing the same thing. Just to say that by default, JavaScript is also trying to tie the variables that we are putting with the global variable. In the browser, the higher level, the parent object we can have is the window, and in Node.js, the parent object that we can have is global. And creating some global variables like that, it's like polluting the global object. But yes, when you don't have some other application, we don't expect other libraries to come and make some conflicts. It's okay to do that. So basically what we need to do is to put some flags here, okay, to say which route must be authorized and which other one must not be authorized. We said that if the request is authorized, we want to display this home page, so we expect it to be authorized. So we put the plus, okay, the plus symbol here, and this one will be displayed, will be called only if the request is not authorized. So we put the minus sign, or the minus, or whatever. English is sometimes difficult to understand. So when you have these two, it's better to have the authorization system that is going to control it. Like right now, we have this success, okay, called inside the authorization system. So we go straight into the home page, but assume that the request is invalid. What's going to happen? We are going to see the login form instead. So that's how Total.js is handling things. You use the declarative way to create your routes, and with some symbols you can say, oh, this is going to be only for authorized routes, and this is going to be unauthorized routes. This way the framework is able to control things via this authorization middleware. It's easy to understand. And basically what we did here, okay, we have this token. We are going to verify if the request that is coming inside the framework, the application, is authorized, if the token is present in the headers. Let's check that firstly. So we make something like let token be something like that headers. We check if token exists. Okay, but instead of checking if it exists, we can simply check, oh sorry, I'm not writing it on the right place, it should be on in the middleware. Okay, we're gonna check if the token is not set. If token not exist, we know that the request is not authorized, the request is invalid. That's it, and we make a return here to say that we don't want to proceed. Basically this one can be success. Okay, so for example, this request, we don't have any headers inside, so we are going to still have this login page, because okay, it tries to, let me make a console.log so you can see that this middleware is actually called whenever there is a request. Auth token. I will try to list the token. If token is not existing, it's going to be null. So I refresh again. You should see here that the token is undefined. It's not even null, it's undefined. Okay, wait, but let's suppose that and if it is success, okay, maybe we can imagine that somewhere we have this user object. So let user is going to be an object like that. I will name it admin, and it's going to be email admin@gmail.com, and sr sometimes in Total.js to determine if a payload is super admin, we use sa. Sa means super admin, or su for super user. It's the same thing. Whenever it's a success, we can use this like this. Oh no, not sure about user. And as we can see, we have a route here. This route, for example, is account, and it is supposed to return the currently connected user if, for example, the user is existing. And by the way, this part is going to be can support also the sign, the symbols. Like here, we need to be authorized in order to return this user profile. And here, to create an account, you don't need to be authorized. And most important, you need to not be authorized, so you need to put this one. And for the verification of the code, you need to not be authorized too. So that's how it works. And if you don't put any symbol, it means that it doesn't matter if it is authorized or not authorized. This is how things are working in Total.js. You can find a reference on the documentation here. Okay, below add some reference about the plus signs. It means a request must be authorized. It means it must not be authorized, and without plus or minus means that it doesn't matter if the request is authorized or not. That's exactly what I was saying. So this way we can call the exec one, which is here, and it's going to return the connected user. When we say $.user, it means that the connected user is where it's what we set in the authorization handler, the middleware. Because here, if for example we have the token, we check the token is existing and everything is okay, we have to return the user instance like here. So that's why I created a temporary user here in order to make it happen. So basically, if we get back to the client here, we can use this token, okay, to verify if we can get the user profile. So let's get back to we don't need a payload of data. What we need is to simply put the schema name. Remember it, the schema name is what we have here. It is the schema name, and here we have the plus and minus 2. Maybe someone would ask the question, it means, like I said here, we don't need a payload, so we put the minus sign to say that, oh, we don't expect a payload. That's how you can simply enable the framework to know if, for example, the schema validation function must be called or not. It's a way to control things manually, but it works. When it comes to develop much faster and real-time applications, this is a better way to do that. Because yes, if you don't expect you can put the plus sign, it's going to call the validation, and sometimes you can have some errors, and otherwise it may not have some errors, but at least you are just calling a useless function on the way of the request, which is going to add some latency. Yeah, that's how you can optimize things also. So if we call that route with the header token, we should see in the response dot value, we should see the the user profile. As you can see, we have the user profile here. It's not magical because we have this middleware here which was checking the request, but basically the request was okay. As you can see, it intercepted the token that we had here. This token is there and it's okay, but having the token set is not enough. We need to also check if the token is valid. We need to decrypt the token to see if it contains a payload, okay, the session ID, and check that session ID in the database if the session actually exists also, to make sure it's going through some process, some checks in order for you to reach this part which is called success. Of course, if you see that success is too far and every time you are going to make the same check, you can put the session, okay, the session ID somewhere in a system of cache, so that the next time it's going to be easier. So this is what I wanted to explain easily with the authorization system with Total.js. Okay, we shouldn't do that in the controller file. It should be somewhere else in order to keep things in a standard way, in the best practice way, because the order of loading files is not the same when it is in the controller file than when it is in the definition file. I don't know if you have some questions I'm going to ask to answer. If not, we can continue. I'm going to drink some water. Okay, if you don't have some questions, now it is 50-50. TypeScript users, you're welcome. I hope that this way of writing in JavaScript is not boring for you, because most of the time people love TypeScript so much that they hate people that don't use it, and sometimes it's boring. Anyway, we use this way of asynchronous JavaScript, synchronous and asynchronous JavaScript, with function, with callbacks. Okay, that's how we handle a lot of requests. And Total.js 5 is interesting. Total.js 5 is very interesting. It is sharing, it's almost sharing the controller instance, and everything is okay, if I'm not confusing. Of course, the second check you need to do is to check if the session actually has a valid payload, okay, and if the payload contains a valid session ID. That's what we are going to do. And like I said, this file was created simply to let you understand how the authorization system is working with Total.js. So I'm going to destroy this one. Okay, that was simply an example, and I will pick this and put it in the definition file. I'm going to call it auth.js. I will keep this one, okay, until we are able to read on database and check the right user. Anyway, after we check that the token is existing, sometimes it's also possible to check the length of the token. Like for example, I can say token does not exist, or token.length is less than 20 or 30. If someone is playing to put a random token, if the token length is even less than 20 characters, you can simply say it's invalid. Yes, that's how you can check things. But if it is greater, you have to it worth, okay, continue to check this token. So the next thing we need to check is if the token, if the token at least has a string, we need to check if it is it can be decrypted with the same passwordizer, because if you go back to the account creation process, after verifying that the OTP is valid, we create a session, which was good. It is here, sorry, it is here. We create a session and we store, but on the way we create this encrypt request. Okay, we take the session ID. Oh, yes, this was a mistake. I should say session.id, not the entire session. Damn. So I was encrypting the whole payload, and which is not good. It's not good. Yes, I know it's not good. And maybe I'm going to create an account again. But basically we have a payload here which is going to be encrypted with a passwordizer. Okay, like a secret key. Okay, I have it on this config file. In Total API config file, we have this passwordizer which is going to be generated automatically by the payload or by the framework. When we say generate and we put the length here, it means that the framework can generate it, and yes, it's going to store it in the config like that. And this config is going to be voila. So this is the key to encrypt and decrypt the string, the hash. Great. Let's get back here. We used encrypt for encrypting. We should use decrypt request to decrypt it. So let's try to check the data. Like data is going to be decrypt. Decrypt rec, which is going to take our request. It's important because some footprints of the request can be used during the encryption. For example, the user agent, someone who was authorized it with a mobile phone, is now trying to use a browser to access this application. Sometimes, maybe even if the token is okay, it should be able to reject it. That's how a way to add some footprints. Feel free to go to the documentation and check. So what we need to do is to put the token. So we put the token at our second parameter, and the third parameter is going to be the passwordizer. So it's going to be conf dot the key for decrypting it. And like what we did before, we need to check if it doesn't exist, because if it's a wrong data, it may return a null. For example, if the key is not able to decrypt something out of it, it's going to be null. So if data does not exist, we should simply say that the request is invalid. For sure it's invalid. There is no second guess. But sometimes if the data exists, it means that at least we have a session ID inside, right? So we need to check if that session is already existing in the database. To do that, we are going to make var session. It's going to be await. We can await it like that, okay? If you prefer to use some callbacks, also feel free to do that. It's the same. For me, it doesn't matter. So we can use data dot read on table sessions where id is going to be the session dot id. Not session dot id, I'm sorry, data dot id. And here it's also possible to say that if data does not exist, or if data exists but it does not have, okay, data.id. This improves the check here. and here we can say promise. If you don't know about Total.js query builder, feel free to look at the previous videos, especially the first one where we used it to create some databases and interact with the database to test. That was amazing. So we try to search also to check if the session exists or not, because sometimes someone may know how the thing is structured, but trying to put a random session ID. So we need to check if session exists. So if session does not exist, it's the same thing. We need to say that the request is invalid. So we are enumerating all the cases where the session may be invalid, and finally all the checks can pass. It's going to say, oh, that means something, it exists, so we can authorize the user. But what we need to have here is the actual the real user. Okay, so we need to check the user. Like for example, I can do that dot data.read. Okay, sorry, I was drinking some water. Okay, data some read. We try to read the user. Like, yes, we have the session, right? The session.user ID contains the user ID. We need to check the user and use it as the authorized user. And of course, those stuff, sessions and everything, can be stored somewhere. Okay, you can store them somewhere in a system of cache. Caching it is going to make things faster for the next time, the next authorization checks. I'm going to implement it right now. So if user ID is there, we can make a promise like that. Not a promise, a callback. It's going to be error or response. So we can simply return the user, right? Okay, we can put this inside and say it's going to be response. And sometimes when you have this like this, we need to put the session ID in that payload. It's very important, like response dot session ID is going to be the session dot ID. Once we have this like that, we can decide to put the users on a global variable. Sometimes we use main dot users. Oh, this auto completion is not playing on my side. Session dot users, which is going to be an array, not array. No, an object like that is better, and we can make it double. Okay, we can also choose to save sessions. Oh, okay. So whenever we have a session, we can store that session in the sessions. How to do that? We can make sessions and even better. Okay, before we even do that, before we even check if session exists here, we can create the variable here, var session. Oh no, to make it a null like that, and we check if main.sessions of that session ID not that, or of data.id. Okay, if it exists, if that exists, we can simply make a success. Okay, because we have a session out of this cache is going to be main dot sessions. Okay, sessions of data.id, which is going to store. Okay, otherwise and of course, okay, instead of putting this one here, we can say that session equals to that, and here it's very simple. We can put that here. We are taking it from the database. All right, but if it doesn't exist in the cache and it doesn't exist in the database, we are in this case, right? So we are going to set things to invalid because we can't tolerate that. Yes, but otherwise, if sessions already exist, I don't know if this should be session.id or it should be session.id, because what we store in that is not it's not even a session like that. It's the user that we store there. So use that ID. And yes, once we have the session here, we need to put the session in the cache so that next time we can reuse it. It's very simple. So main.session sessions of session.id is going to be the response, and here is a complete authorization system with the Total.js from scratch. This way it works, but sometimes you may see that we need to have some cron jobs. Okay, something that every hour or every 2 hours must check the validity of the things, the tokens or the cookies. This is something very important. We can't keep things forever in the cache. Okay, you need to empty the cache sometimes, like every 2 hours you have to reset and do things later, because setting things in the cache is going to mess everything up. But fortunately in this application we don't need to make a TTL, time to live, so it's not a problem. But you may see something like on. Let me show you how it works. On service, Total.js is going to fire this event every 60 seconds. So every minute, and it holds some ticks, like it counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and as long as your application is online, is up and running, we have bigger numbers. Okay, and that's how you can use the modulo system to detect if we can run something every hour or something like that. Like for example, I can say if tick modulo 60, it means if we have 60 counts, 60 times, it means 1 hour. If it is equal to 0, it means every hour we can, okay, so-and-so.log, okay, we reset sessions. Okay, or simply, okay, you can make some logic here and handle things. And yes, I created a variable here that I'm not using, like users. Sometimes it can be useful when you want to loop over your users and do some things. But anyway, we need to check if this is actually working. Let me try to get the okay. Now it says unauthorize it, but I don't like the way this response is coming in a HTML document like that. I need to overwrite it so that it can respond to me in JSON. Okay, let's do that. I know why it's not working. It's not working because we are trying to read the ID from there, while it was not an ID, it was an entire payload. I understand, because yes, I messed things up when I was encrypting the data. Not a problem, we can get back to the default. Okay, at least we created this file, we have the opportunity to use it. So export .install. In the first video I explained how it works. This exports.install is going to be called when the file will be loaded. That's how it works, because the framework is going to load all the files before you even it even lets the application start with a server. So what we need to do is create a route that is going to overwrite the 400. So we need to put something like this. Like this is 401, which is unauthorized request. So it's going to be something like oh, and here, okay, I will create another function, okay, that is going to take this code and message. You'll understand because I don't want to write lots of code inside of that install. So I need to simplify things. So there must be a function called response or respond. Okay, that respond can have the dollar sign. Okay, it's very important, the code and the message. Yes, we need to make sure that this is function or not function, and it must work. And here the code we need to put is the okay, the code is gonna be something like that, and the message is going to be one, okay, unauthorized. And here we are going to use a JSON, at least JSON, and we put something like that. Success, basically success is going to be false. Okay, the code is going to be the code, and message is going to be message. This way we can duplicate them and only change the okay, I need this to be applied to all the 400 requests. But the message here is different. is bad request. We need same thing for 404. Okay, 404 in French. Which is going to be resource. Okay, let me put it simply, 414 not found. And lastly, we need to, for a request that are timeout, we need something like 408 request timeout. Let me check it again. If I send this request, it should now respond with something like that, because the mobile application needs to handle JSON when it comes to interacting with the API. We don't need something like HTML responses. This is when dealing with websites. Okay, so this is how we can use Total.js to override the internal error messages. Yeah, it's okay. Just imagine if, for example, I put something like that. This is going to be invalid payload. Okay, like it is bad request. And for example, if in this authorization system I don't reply with editing. Okay, you understand. Let me see if there are some questions or not. No questions. Put the thumbs up. Can you please like this live stream? Okay, we are ending the live soon. Very soon we are going to end the live, because we covered the authorization system and it works. It's okay. What I'm going to do is to make a successful request, and for that I'm going to remove that user that we already created. Or not. No, we don't have to do that. We can simply make an authorization system, a login system that takes into consideration the existing user, so that if the user exists, we generate a OTP code for him. Otherwise we verify and reject the request. So let's do that. So in this index okay, we need to add, I need to be careful. Maybe we're going to do that in the next video, because I'm not going to start something that I'm not going to finish, because I have course I need to run for something else. It's time for me to go. If you don't have some questions, all right, we can continue. We are stopping this live right now. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. Before you leave this video, you can like, you can subscribe, you can share, anything. You can leave some comments too. Thank you so much.